Listen to this. There's a man who built an empire by destroying people. There's a man who became a billionaire by being absolutely ruthless. There's a man who had no weakness, no mercy, no humanity. And then she walked into his life. And everything changed. And by the end, you won't believe what he did for her. His name is Marcus Ashford. He is 38 years old. He is worth $4 billion. He owns companies across 5 continents. He has fired thousands of people without blinking. He has broken contracts. He has destroyed competitors. He has done whatever it took to become the most powerful man in his industry. People fear Marcus. People respect Marcus. But nobody loves Marcus. Nobody has ever loved Marcus. And Marcus has never wanted anyone to love him. But then he met her. Her name is Sophia. She is 25 years old. She works as a barista at a coffee shop near his office. She makes $15 an hour. She lives in a small apartment with 3 roommates. Sophia is everything that Marcus is not. She is kind, she is gentle, she is real. Marcus walked into her coffee shop on a Tuesday morning. He ordered a coffee. And something happened that had never happened to Marcus before in his entire life. He felt something. It wasn't just attraction. It wasn't just desire. It was something deeper. It was like someone had opened a door in Marcus's chest that he didn't know existed. It was like his entire life had been black and white and suddenly he was seeing color for the first time. And from that moment forward, Marcus Ashford, the ruthless billionaire, the man with no weaknesses, the man who destroyed people for profit, became absolutely, completely, utterly obsessed with Sophia. He would come to the coffee shop every morning just to see her. He would make excuses to visit the location near her apartment. He would rearrange his entire schedule so that their paths would cross. And Sophia had no idea who he was. Sophia had no idea that the kind man who came in every morning was one of the most powerful people in the world. But what Marcus didn't understand was that Sophia wasn't his to take. Sophia wasn't a conquest. Sophia wasn't something that could be bought or manipulated or controlled. Because Sophia had something that Marcus didn't have. She had integrity. And what happens when an absolutely ruthless billionaire becomes obsessed with a woman who cannot be bought? What happens when a man who has never known love becomes completely dependent on someone who won't manipulate him? What happens when someone without weaknesses suddenly discovers that they have a weakness that could destroy them? This is that story. And by the end, you're going to understand what true power really means. By the end, you're going to understand that sometimes the most powerful thing a person can do is choose love over everything else. But first, you need to understand something about Marcus. You need to understand just how ruthless he was. You need to understand how deep his darkness went. And you need to understand how completely Sophia changed everything. If you've ever wondered what it would look like if a completely heartless person found their humanity through love, this is the story for you. If you've ever wondered what happens when someone with unlimited power meets someone with unlimited integrity, you need to hear this. Rate this story from 0 to 10 when we're done. Tell me in the comments if you believe that love can change a person. Tell me if you think Marcus deserves redemption. Tell me if you believe that people can change. But most importantly, tell me this. What would you do if you were Marcus? Would you stay ruthless? Or would you give it all up for love? Let's find out what Marcus did. Marcus Ashford didn't have a choice about becoming ruthless. Marcus was born into ruthlessness. Marcus was taught ruthlessness from the time he could walk. Marcus's father was a billionaire. Marcus's father made his fortune in real estate and finance. Marcus's father was not a good man. Marcus's father was a man who would do anything for money. Marcus's father taught his son that sentiment was weakness. Marcus's father taught his son that kindness was a liability. Marcus's father taught his son that the only thing that mattered was winning. Marcus's mother left when Marcus was 6 years old. She couldn't handle the cruelty of Marcus's father. She couldn't handle the environment of the home. She ran away and she never came back. She left Marcus with his father. She abandoned Marcus to his father's education in ruthlessness. And so Marcus became ruthless. Marcus went to the best schools. Marcus studied business. Marcus learned how to manipulate markets. Marcus learned how to exploit legal loopholes. Marcus learned how to crush competitors. By the time Marcus was 30, he had taken over his father's company. By the time Marcus was 35, he had tripled its value. And Marcus did it by being absolutely merciless. Marcus would acquire companies and then lay off half the workforce to cut costs. Marcus would negotiate contracts and then change the terms once the other party had committed. Marcus would find people's weaknesses and exploit them. Marcus was brilliant at identifying what people wanted and using that desire against them. Marcus had no friends. Marcus had no confidants. Marcus had people who worked for him and people who feared him and people who wanted things from him. But Marcus had no one who actually cared about him as a person. Marcus dated women, but it was transactional. Marcus would date a woman for a few months and then discard her when he got bored. The women he dated were usually models or socialites, women from wealthy families who understood that the relationship was about status and access to his money, not about actual love. Marcus had never felt love. Marcus had never felt connection. Marcus had never felt the need for another person. Marcus was completely self-sufficient. Marcus was completely alone. And Marcus had made peace with that. Or at least, that's what Marcus thought. The thing about being ruthless is that it creates a specific kind of emptiness. The thing about crushing everyone who gets in your way is that eventually, there's nobody left to trust. The thing about having unlimited power is that it eventually becomes meaningless because there's nothing left to conquer. Marcus was 38 years old and he was at the top of his industry. Marcus had achieved every goal he had set for himself. Marcus had more money than he could spend in a lifetime. Marcus had power and influence. Marcus had everything that he had been told would make him happy. But Marcus was profoundly, desperately, achingly lonely. Marcus lived in a penthouse that overlooked the entire city. The penthouse was beautiful. The penthouse was cold. The penthouse felt like a prison. Marcus would come home at night and he would look out the window and he would think, I have everything and I have nothing. Marcus had considered seeking therapy. But Marcus knew that therapy required vulnerability. And Marcus had spent his entire life eliminating vulnerability from his personality. Marcus had considered joining clubs or organizations where he might meet people. But Marcus didn't want to meet people. Marcus didn't want to have to perform or pretend. Marcus was tired of everything being a transaction. And so Marcus existed in a state of quiet desperation. Marcus was successful on the outside and broken on the inside. Marcus had won at the game of business and lost at the game of being human. And then he walked into a coffee shop and everything changed. It was a Tuesday morning. Marcus was late for a meeting. Marcus was stressed about a deal that was falling apart. Marcus's assistant had recommended a coffee shop near his office. Marcus needed coffee. Marcus went to the coffee shop. And he saw her. Sophia was making a cappuccino for another customer. Sophia was wearing a barista apron. Sophia had no idea who Marcus was. Sophia was just doing her job. But something about the way she moved, the way she smiled at the customer, the way she cared about getting the order exactly right, something about Sophia made Marcus stop. Marcus ordered a coffee. Sophia took his order. Sophia smiled at him. And Marcus felt something that he had never felt before. He felt understood. Sophia didn't know that Marcus was a billionaire. Sophia didn't treat him differently because he looked powerful. Sophia just treated him like a human being. Sophia asked him about his day. Sophia suggested a pastry that went well with the coffee. Sophia was genuinely nice to him. And Marcus was completely, utterly undone. Marcus went back to the coffee shop the next day. And the next day. And the next day. Within a week, Marcus was going to the coffee shop every morning. Within 2 weeks, Marcus was rearranging his entire schedule to make sure he could visit the shop at the time when Sophia was working. Sophia started to recognize him. Sophia started to smile when he walked in. Sophia started to have his order ready before he asked for it. Sophia started to call him my regular when talking to other customers. And Marcus became absolutely addicted to these moments. But Marcus was smart enough to understand something. Sophia was kind to him because she didn't know who he was. Sophia was treating him well because she thought he was just a normal person, not because she was interested in him romantically. Marcus understood that if Sophia knew about his money, if Sophia knew about his power, everything would change. Sophia would either want him for his money or she would be afraid of him. So Marcus did something that Marcus had never done before. Marcus didn't use his power to get what he wanted. Marcus just came to the coffee shop and he ordered coffee and he talked to Sophia and he left. Marcus was patient. Marcus was kind. Marcus was someone completely different from the ruthless billionaire that he was the rest of the time. And slowly something changed between them. Sophia started to look forward to Marcus coming in. Sophia started to ask him questions about his life. Sophia started to tell him about her life. Sophia started to see him as a friend. After 3 months, Marcus asked Sophia if she wanted to get dinner with him. Sophia said yes. But Sophia was nervous. Sophia said, "I should tell you, I'm not the kind of person you can just date and discard. I take relationships seriously. If we do this, I need you to understand that I'm looking for something real." Marcus said, "I understand. And that's what I want too." Marcus meant every word. For the first time in his life, Marcus wanted something more than power. For the first time in his life, Marcus wanted to be with someone in a way that wasn't transactional. For the first time in his life, Marcus wanted to be known and accepted for who he actually was, not for what he had. And so Marcus and Sophia started dating. And Marcus continued to hide who he really was. For 3 months, Marcus lived a double life. During the day, Marcus was the ruthless CEO of a $4 billion empire. Marcus fired people. Marcus made ruthless business decisions. Marcus crushed competitors. Marcus was exactly the same as he had always been. But in the evenings, Marcus was with Sophia. And with Sophia, Marcus was different. Marcus was kind. Marcus was attentive. Marcus was someone who actually cared about another person. Marcus was falling completely in love with Sophia. And Sophia was falling in love with the version of Marcus that she knew. But Sophia didn't know the real Marcus. Sophia didn't know that the kind, thoughtful man she loved was also a man who had destroyed thousands of people's lives in the name of profit. Sophia told Marcus about her dreams. Sophia wanted to finish her college degree. Sophia wanted to work in social services. Sophia wanted to help people who were struggling. Sophia wanted to make a difference in the world. And Marcus listened. And Marcus fell deeper in love. Because Sophia's dreams were the opposite of everything that Marcus had spent his life pursuing. Sophia wanted to help people. Marcus had spent his life hurting people. Sophia wanted to make a positive impact. Marcus had made a negative impact on thousands of lives. And Marcus wanted to change. For the first time in his life, Marcus wanted to be different. Marcus started giving money to Sophia's causes anonymously. Marcus started donating to charities that helped people. Marcus started rethinking his business practices. Marcus started to wonder if there was another way to live. But Marcus didn't tell Sophia about any of this. Marcus was terrified that if Sophia knew who he really was, she would leave. Marcus was terrified that Sophia would realize that she was in love with someone who wasn't real. Someone who was just performing the role of a good person. And then Sophia found out. It was inevitable that Sophia would find out. It was always going to happen. The only question was when and how. Sophia found out when she saw Marcus on the news. There was a business story about Marcus Ashford acquiring a company and laying off thousands of workers. The story mentioned that Marcus was one of the richest men in the world. The story called him ruthless and heartless. And Sophia realized that the man she was dating was a billionaire. And Sophia realized that she had been lied to. Sophia was devastated. Sophia felt betrayed. Sophia felt like the man she loved was not who she thought he was. When Sophia confronted Marcus, Marcus told her the truth. Marcus told her about growing up with his ruthless father. Marcus told her about becoming ruthless himself. Marcus told her about the loneliness of being at the top. Marcus told her about seeing her in the coffee shop and feeling like someone had opened a door to his humanity. And Marcus told her something that he had never told anyone before. Marcus told her that he loved her. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you about the money," Marcus said. "I'm sorry I let you believe that I was someone different. But the man you know is real. The way I feel about you is real. And I would give up everything I have if it meant I could be that man all the time." Sophia was furious. Sophia said, "You lied to me. You deceived me. And I don't even know who you really are. Are you the ruthless billionaire, or are you the kind man I fell in love with? Because those two people seem incompatible." "They were," Marcus said. "But you changed me. When I'm with you, I want to be better. I want to be kinder. I want to be the man you think I am." "You can't just change who you are," Sophia said. "You can't just decide to be a different person because you're in love. You have a history. You've hurt thousands of people. You've made your fortune by being ruthless. How do I know that tomorrow you won't go back to being that person?" And Sophia was right. Sophia was asking the fundamental question. Can people change? Is change possible? Or is who we are fundamentally fixed? Marcus didn't know the answer. But Marcus knew that he had to try. Marcus knew that losing Sophia was not an option that he could survive. Marcus went back to his office. Marcus called an emergency board meeting. Marcus told his board that he was making a fundamental change to the company's operations. Marcus announced that he was cutting his own salary in half and using that money to fund employee benefits, higher wages, and job security. Marcus announced that the company was going to prioritize social impact alongside profit. Marcus announced that he was going to personally oversee a transition program to help any workers who had been affected by previous layoffs. The board was shocked. The board said, "This will reduce profits. This will hurt your bottom line. This will make you less competitive." Marcus said, "I don't care. This is what I'm doing." Marcus spent the next 6 months systematically undoing some of the harm he had caused. Marcus reached out to people he had hurt. Marcus offered compensation. Marcus funded programs to help people who had lost their jobs rebuild their lives. Marcus donated hundreds of millions of dollars to charities and non-profits. And Marcus didn't do it for publicity. Marcus did it for Sophia. Marcus did it because he wanted to be someone that Sophia could respect. Sophia saw what Marcus was doing. And slowly, Sophia started to believe that change was possible. Slowly, Sophia started to believe that Marcus was genuinely trying to be different. After 6 months, Sophia agreed to get back together with Marcus. But Sophia set a condition. Marcus had to continue this path. Marcus had to prove that he was genuinely changed, not just performing change. Marcus had to show that he was willing to be vulnerable, to admit mistakes, to ask for help. And Marcus agreed. And Marcus did. For the first time in his life, Marcus was honest about his struggles. Marcus admitted his flaws. Marcus asked Sophia for help in becoming a better person. Marcus allowed himself to be vulnerable. And something miraculous happened. The more vulnerable Marcus became, the stronger his love for Sophia became. The more he admitted his flaws, the more he felt accepted by her. The more he helped other people, the more meaningful his life became. Marcus had spent 38 years becoming ruthless. It took him only a few years to dismantle that ruthlessness. It took him only a few years to understand that power without compassion is just darkness. It took him only a few years to understand that wealth without purpose is just emptiness. And Sophia was the catalyst for all of it. 3 years after Marcus and Sophia got back together, they got married. It was a small wedding. Not an extravagant billionaire wedding with thousands of guests, but a real wedding with family and close friends. And when Marcus looked at Sophia in her wedding dress, he understood that she had saved his life. Sophia had pulled him out of the darkness. Sophia had shown him what it meant to be human. And Marcus had given Sophia something too. Marcus had given her financial security. Marcus had helped her finish her college degree. Marcus had helped her start a non-profit organization focused on helping people transition out of poverty. Together they created something meaningful. Together they created a legacy that was about helping people instead of hurting them. Marcus's company continued to be profitable, but it was profitable in a different way. Instead of making money through ruthlessness, the company made money through innovation and ethical practices. Instead of competing on the basis of cutting costs, the company competed on the basis of quality and social responsibility. And surprisingly, the company did better. The company became more respected. The company attracted better talent. The company became more successful than it had ever been when Marcus was being ruthless. Marcus learned something fundamental. Ruthlessness is not necessary for success. Ruthlessness is a choice. And Marcus had chosen something different. 5 years after Marcus and Sophia got married, they had a daughter. Her name was Emma. Emma was born with her mother's kindness and her father's intelligence. Marcus looked at his daughter and he understood what his own father had failed to understand. That being a good person is more important than being a successful person. That teaching your child to be kind is more important than teaching them to be ruthless. That love is more powerful than power. Marcus spent time with Emma. Marcus taught her about business, but he also taught her about compassion. Marcus taught her that success is not just about making money. Success is about living in alignment with your values. And Emma grew up differently than Marcus had grown up. Emma grew up with a father who loved her. Emma grew up with a father who was vulnerable and honest. Emma grew up knowing that she was valued for who she was, not for what she could accomplish. 10 years after Marcus met Sophia, Marcus gave an interview to a major magazine. The interviewer asked Marcus, "You used to be known as the most ruthless businessman in the world. What changed?" Marcus said, "I met someone who showed me that there was another way to live. I met someone who loved me not because of my money or my power, but because of who I was as a person. And that person, that woman, saved my life." The interviewer asked, "Do you regret any of the decisions you made when you were ruthless?" Marcus said, "Yes. I deeply regret the harm I caused. I regret the lives I damaged. And I've spent the last 10 years trying to make amends. Not because I'm trying to feel better about myself, but because it's the right thing to do." The interviewer asked, "Do you believe that people can change?" Marcus said, "I'm proof that they can. 10 years ago I was a man without a heart. I was a man without compassion. I was a man without capacity for love. And then one person believed that I could change. One person gave me a chance. And that chance changed everything." Here's what I want you to understand about Marcus's story. The truth is that people can change. But people don't change because of consequences. People don't change because they're forced to. People change because someone loves them enough to show them that a different way of living is possible. Marcus didn't change because the board pressured him. Marcus didn't change because society demanded it. Marcus changed because Sophia showed him that love was possible. Sophia showed him that connection was possible. Sophia showed him that vulnerability was strength, not weakness. And the interesting thing is that Marcus didn't have to choose between his success and his humanity. Marcus got to have both. Marcus became more successful after he became more compassionate. Marcus's company did better after he started operating ethically. This is something that people don't understand about ruthlessness. Ruthlessness is not actually necessary for success. Ruthlessness is just a choice. And it's a choice that costs you your humanity. It's a choice that leaves you alone at the top. But there's another way. There's a way to be successful and kind. There's a way to be powerful and compassionate. There's a way to achieve your goals without destroying other people. Marcus proved this. And Sophia was the catalyst. So here's what I want you to understand if you take nothing else from this story. If you're ruthless, if you're heartless, if you're driven entirely by the desire for power and money and status, understand this. There is another way. There is a person out there who might be waiting for you to change. There is a person out there who might love you enough to give you a chance to be different. But that person can't force you to change. That person can't make you change. You have to want it. You have to be willing to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to admit that you were wrong. You have to be willing to do the hard work of becoming a different person. And if you're the kind person in this dynamic, if you're the Sophia, understand this. Don't settle for someone who doesn't show that they're willing to change. Don't convince yourself that love is enough to change someone. Love is necessary for change, but it's not sufficient. The other person has to want to change. The other person has to be willing to do the work. But if someone is willing to do the work, if someone is willing to be vulnerable, if someone is willing to admit their mistakes and change them, then love can be transformative. Love can literally save someone's life. Marcus was a man without a heart. Sophia gave him one. And in doing so, Sophia didn't just change Marcus. Sophia changed thousands of people whose lives Marcus helped with his money and his influence and his newfound compassion. One person can change another person. One person can literally transform someone's entire life trajectory. And that person doesn't have to be powerful. That person just has to be genuine. That person just has to be kind. That person just has to be willing to see the humanity in someone else, even when that someone else is the most ruthless person in the world. This is the power of love. This is why love matters. This is why connection matters. This is why seeing the humanity in other people, even people who seem incapable of being human, is so important. Don't underestimate the power of love. Don't underestimate what a single genuine connection can do. Don't underestimate the impact that your kindness and your vulnerability and your willingness to see the good in someone can have on their entire life. Because you might be the person who saves someone. You might be the Sophia to someone else's Marcus. And your love might literally change the world. I'll see you next time.